Have you on the program, Governor. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Maria. It's always good to be with you. And I'm actually the third woman to be the chair, but the first Republican woman to be the chair.
Well, thank you for that. Apologies. Can you characterize the problem from where you sit?
Absolutely. You know, I think governors across the nation are concerned about the migrant children that are coming into the United States. We want to know what is the plan and what is the end game for all that's going on across our nation with migrant children. We have received migrant children here in Oklahoma. We were told they were going to be here 120 days, and then we could get back to our regular military operations at our Army post itself. But now we're hearing there may be rumors that they could be extended at that facility. And so I'd like to put the President on notice that the people of Oklahoma accepted them for the 120 days because that's where they put them. But now time is to end that contract and go ahead and send them somewhere else. And you know, we need to get back to our military operations here in Oklahoma. You know, we're concerned. Yep. We're concerned about our schools. We're concerned about our DHS. We're concerned about certainly health and the public safety of our communities. And we delivered on that 120 days, but it ends October 10th, and it's time to move on.
Well, can you give us a sense of what's happening within those facilities? I mean, the American people have no way of knowing what's going on once those children are being placed in these facilities, what the conditions are like. Cameras are not allowed in. The media has been totally locked off. Tell us about, once the children get to those facilities, what life is like.
Well, absolutely, and I did have the opportunity to go down there within a couple of days after they opened up the facility in Oklahoma. But you know, basically, I saw what they wanted me to see, and I have to say I was pleased with what I saw at that point in time. But we had about half the children that we have now in the facilities, around 1,200. At the time, we had about a little under 600 children that were there. But actually, when I say children, they were actually 12 to 17 years old. They were migrant juveniles that were there. But you know, basically what we saw was cots and beds and playing games and out playing soccer on the ballpark itself. But we also know that we had double the amount of children come in after that time, and so we haven't really been able to get in and see behind the scenes. We see what they want us to see, but I'm hearing all kinds of stories. I took my Secretary of Health with me down there to make sure the children were first safe, because they are children. We want them to be fed and have appropriate medical care and certainly be safe within the facilities themselves, and they're segregated. But one of the things I've heard since they've been there, and it was reported when I was there actually, that there were not only El Salvador children in Honduras and Guatemala, but there were 90 children reported to be from India that were actually at the facility. And it was one of the caseworkers that told my Secretary of Health that we had people there besides South American children. And so that's of great concern. And we also know the state of Oklahoma, our Department of Human Services, have been contacted about taking some of these children and placing them out in foster care. But in the state of Oklahoma, we already have 1,200 children who are in DHS, Department of Human Services, custody in our state, and a lot of our children are on wait lists for foster care in Oklahoma. So that's kind of the concern from a governor's standpoint, is making sure the children, first of all, are taken well care of that are here. But secondly, what's it going to cost the states? What's a burden to our communities? And we already have challenges with our state budgets and our systems already.
Right. And how taxing is it? Can you give us a sense of what you're expecting in terms of the cost and the taxing on the system in America?
Well, first of all, Americans need to take care of American children, and we have a lot of people, as I said, in Department of Human Services custody right now. We have a lot of, certainly, as every state does, kids are in foster care systems, kids in juvenile facilities. We have a lot of people on Medicaid, people getting free uncompensated care in our health care delivery systems. Those students will probably go into our public school systems, especially if they go out and they're into some type of foster care family. But every time you do that, you're taking away from services that one of our American students that are here legally would be able to have access to. And so I think the question is, when do we secure the border? How do we send a message to those countries that you can't just send your children here and have them get amnesty, and the United States is going to pick up the cost? Secure the border, have a plan, and enforce the laws of the United States.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think you make a really good point about children coming from India, because the fact is, because of this vulnerability at the border, we don't know who's coming in. I mean, it could be Central American children. It may not be. I mean, we don't know if it's terrorism. I mean, we don't know who's coming in. Why is it so difficult to secure the border?
Well, it is difficult to secure the border. And here's one of my other concerns. we're so busy with all these migrant children who are coming in, adults, older age children, are coming up to the border, just being dropped off at the river. How do we know what's going on down the river, what's going on down the land? How do we know the drug cartels aren't smuggling in drugs, aren't trafficking people, aren't kidnapping people? How do we know that?
Governor,
I think we're being distracted.
We will be watching this. We so appreciate your time today. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Governor